Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch What, and thanks for logging on. Well, the 24 Hours of Le Mans might be over for another year, but watches and cars are eternal here at Watch You Want. That's why today we're bringing you the Breitling for Bentley Motors Chronograph, 49 millimeters in polished stainless steel. This is the quintessential Breitling for Bentley motorsports-inspired chronograph. As big, bold, extrovert, and exuberant as a Bentley itself, it's part of the most successful association of a premier automaker with a prestige watchmaker that we've seen. Since 2002, Breitling for Bentley has really been the standard bearer for the best of automotive co-branding in the luxury watch sector, and it's obvious why. Breitling and Bentley are a natural pair, physically similar, thematically similar, and playing to a lot of the same passions. These watches and these cars really fit together like a hand in glove, or a watch on wrist. And you can see on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. The watch is big, but that's the style. I have to add that it feels quite comfortable. Now, this large case, 49 millimeters, was not born of the modern vogue for large watches. It actually dates back to the big Navitimer pilot watches of the late 1960s. So the idea behind the original was that you would wear it on your wrist for hours and hours during a flight. So ergonomically, the die was cast a long time ago, and they got it right out of the gate. So, while styles change, human evolution doesn't move that fast. What was ergonomically sound in the 60s still works well today. You could wear this watch comfortably on a wrist down to about 6 inches in circumference, about 15 centimeters, and it has a surprisingly low profile in spite of its nominal thickness of 15 millimeters. I have to say, on my wrist, it looks like a 12 millimeter thick watch. Not only that, but the circular slide rule bezel does have a little bit of tumble home, so it gives a sleeve or a cuff a head start on jumping up and over the crystal. So this watch is likely to play nice with long sleeves, formal cuffs. If you want to wear it with a suit, it'll go nicely. This is a good versatile reference from the Breitling for Bentley catalog, and stainless steel is a big key to that. Moreover, the contrast between the steel and that chocolate sunburst dial, it's almost between chocolate and bronze, really makes the effect elegant, and while it's not necessarily discreet, it's in an excellent taste. I want to add that the ergonomic triumph of this watch is due in large part to another element. The large Breitling for Bentley 5-link speed bracelet and a robust clamshell single deployant clasp. Those two do a great job of keeping the watch supple on the wrist, curving nicely to the bend of my wrist flanks, but also counterbalancing that heavy head unit. The watch doesn't have any inclination to capsize or hula hoop on my wrist because with a full bracelet and a robust clasp, it's nicely counterweighted. Now, moving inboard, you can see there's a knurling on the outside of the circular slide rule bezel, itself also inherited from the old big Navitimers. And then there's a diamond plate pattern that's evocative of vintage Bentley racing fixtures, gas pedals, floor plates, dashboards. Bentley as a racing force was really at its peak during the late 20s, early 30s, and this is evocative of that era, of the shapes and forms, equipment and fixtures of Bentleys from that period. Type in Le Mans Bentley, and while you get images of the EXP Speed 8 that won Le Mans a few years back during the 2000s, you'll also get some beautiful imagery of classic early 20th century racing Bentleys, and you'll see a lot of metal blazoned with this pattern on it. Very beautiful and a great historical tribute, a nice little reference. Moving inboard, you see that circular slide rule. Now, the comprehensive circular slide rule Breitlings were introduced with the Navitimer references in the early 50s. This one works similar but differently. Similar in that it can perform multiplication, division, you can do currency conversions, you can use it to calculate your dinner tip just as easily. It just works backwards, which is to say that it's been calibrated differently, principally for calculating rates of speed, times elapsed, fuel consumption on a motorsports course for racing purposes, rather than aviation computations that would be useful in the cockpit. Again, you can perform either on it, you just perhaps have to do a little bit more mental math. There's a great flash animation demonstrating how to use this on Breitling.com, and if you're interested in this watch and you want to get the most out of it, I highly recommend that tutorial. It certainly beats anything I can show you on the iPhone. Moving inboard, there is a dramatic sloping down across the outer rayout of the circular slide rule to that gorgeous cocoa bronze metallic bezel. It does have a pronounced rayon or sunburst pattern to it, so it gleams and glints in the sun, in the light. It's even better outdoors. This natural light doesn't do it justice. But in combination with the beautiful diamond polished applied elements and the high polished hands, especially with that Breitling logo anchor counterweight on the seconds hand, it really explodes. It's got a life to it, and each of the individual inset sub-registers adds another element. You can see those little propellers of light moving through. There you go. There's the effect. Moving across the dial, just showing how dynamic it is as light catches it. This is a fantastic piece. It's not just the polish of the case, it's the treatment of the dial and the delicate detailing of its individual elements that give this one its character, and a high caliber of character, I may add. Now you can also see that it is a triple register chronograph, which I think is the ultimate layout for a motorsports inspired watch. And there's another little trick it's got up its sleeve. You can see the 30-second chronograph hand. That spreads out the individual beats of the escapement. So if you have 8 beats per second, as you do on this 4 Hertz movement, each one of those seconds will be spread out over 2 seconds on the dial, making it easier to visually resolve 1/8 of a second. You don't have to squint quite as hard with this double speed chronograph seconds hand. And that is a Breitling original innovation. Originally developed by their own watchmakers during the 1920s, it's been brought back in the 21st century on the thematically relevant motorsports complication, where every second, indeed every 1/8 of a second, counts. Now, the watch also features a jump date and COSC chronometer status. This is Breitling's caliber 25B, so it's based on the long-running, very thin, very fine chronometer spec ETA 2892A2, to which Breitling's unique chronograph module has been added. Now, it's a vertical clutch system, so you can see when I stop it, it stops without stagger, and when I start it, it starts without a jump, and moreover, when I reset it, precisely to the index at 12. There's a lot going on here, but what you need to know is that it's tough, it's fine, it's accurate, and when you pull the crown, it will stop the small second subdial so you can synchronize precisely to the race timer, or more likely, the atomic clock. But the bottom line is there's a tremendous amount of original craft content and beautiful finishing in the dial, in the case, in the bracelet, in the movement. Breitling adds a lot of value to this watch. As an everyday watch, it's a fantastic candidate because you also have 100 meter, that's 330 foot water resistance. So while this one is right at home trackside, it's equally comfortable surfside this summer. This is a do-it-all watch, rugged, beautiful, and with Breitling for Bentley having endured since 2002, I think it's fair to say that the concept has staying power, and this will never be dated. Heck, it's a case that dates from the late 1960s, so the style itself is already time-tested in the extreme. Check out this Breitling for Bentley Motors chronograph, 49mm in stainless steel, on our website, Watch You Want.